All right, so we have a moving ball now. I added this generic behavior, added a rigid body, and a generic behavior for motion, or for setting the velocity on start for this ball. And if we click it, you see that the ball does indeed move. So now we want reactions. We want it when it hits certain things, we want it to react with those things. So we're going to add a new event for this, and we're going to answer our questions here. When do we want this to happen? So we look at our system event and say, when do we want this to happen? And we could actually name these too. It's probably a good idea to name these. So this is ball movement, and this will be ball collision. If I could spell. Okay. So system event. When do we want this to happen? As soon as it wakes up? No, probably not. And this is the one we want. I was going to go through some more of these, but uh, collision enter. Collision enter means when it collides with an object, when it starts colliding with an object, we want it to happen. So that is probably when we want to do some collision response, when this on collision enter. So if I click that, now we're saying, okay, on collision enter, we want something to happen. And so by type and by relation, right now we want the ball to, we want it to, when it hits anything, we want it to actually have this reaction, paddles or wall and ceiling. So the relationship we're looking for here is all. We want this to happen whenever it hits anything that it collides with, it is going to have this reaction. And the reaction we want off of this, in generic behavior, there are some pre-made behaviors that we can add to objects under behavior. So the game action we want is a specific behavior that is made, and so choose from the following pre-made behaviors. The one we want is vector reflect. So we actually want the vector that this thing is moving on to reflect around the surface that it hit. So we're going to choose vector reflect. And the vector storage that we want it to keep what it has there for that. And the amount, we don't have to put any amount on because vector reflect is going to keep the velocity that you actually have. So it should be that easy. We should bounce. We should bounce off the walls now when we hit things. But we don't. So what did we do wrong here? One there. So the amount we added in does make a difference. You have to add a 1 here to retain the velocity multiplied by 1 instead of multiplied by 0. So it was hitting that and then multiplying the value by 0. So we put in a 1, and on the axes that we actually care about, which is the x and the y, and we put a 1 there so that we retain the velocity that we had. And it's that easy to get collision reaction with that. And so we don't have paddle functionality yet, but it should. Is it going to hit the paddle? It hits the paddle. And it bounces and always kind of reflects off the surface that it bounces off of. So getting something to, the important things to learn here is not that we got that ball functionality. The important thing to learn is we know when we want to check to see, we want to do something when we collided with an object. So this event, whenever you collide with an object, you're going to choose how you want to collide with it. So you could say by tag or by name. We just did default here. If I wanted to, I could check. I don't have these tagged, but I could do the tag or the name of the object. I added the game action I wanted was the behavior, which already had, it has some pre-made setup behaviors here, which were from this list. Bounce, custom, follow, look at, and you can play around with these to find out what each of these do. But the one we wanted was reflect, and we made sure we put the correct axes that we cared about in, and the amount. We didn't want any extra amount when it reflected. I wonder if I put 2 here, if it would actually make it go faster every time it bounced. And it does. So that's every time it bounces, it'll start to go really fast. Every time it bounces, it's actually going to get, its velocity is going to get multiplied by 2. But I don't want that to happen. I want just that to happen. And that is how you get collision response on the ball, and specifically for this, for Pong, how to do reflect off of the surface that you're hitting.